This is John for Global Traveler. This morning, I have the pleasure of talking travel with broadcast journalist and founder of Explorer Productions, David McGuffin. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great, John. Thank you for having me on today.
Thanks for appearing on. Now, you've done a lot in the travel industry. What made you first interested in travel?
Well, listen, I started my first international trip was way back when I was in college at 20 years old, and I was in a choir. We were able to, my choir director took us on a 3-week trip. It cost me $900 back in the day to do that. That was a lot of money, right?
Yeah.
And we went to the Israel, we went to Greece, and we went to Italy. 1 week in each country, did some concert tours, and I fell in love with traveling.
Now, I read on your website, correct me if I'm wrong, that you eventually did a return trip where you got the band together and you took them on a trip to all over.
Yeah, that's correct. I was a high school band director in here in Orange Park, Florida for 30 years. And as I progressed and taught, I started gathering some of my students together and their parents as well, and finally started taking my own tours and getting them together and do performance tours all over Europe. And so we've performed in Switzerland and Paris in the Luxembourg Gardens. And then I got to take my band to the St. Patrick's Day Parade in Dublin in 2005. So a great experience for that.
So that first trip, obviously you were doing it for work. There was work purposes, there was legitimate, but was a part of it for you just to be able to go out there and travel?
Oh yeah, that was back in the day when I think the very first trip after that 1977 trip that I organized was in the late 1980s or early 1990s. And I gathered like maybe 10 or 12 of my students together. Some of their parents came along too. And we had another travel company that organized all that. And we joined 3 or 4 other groups, got on a 50 passenger bus and headed off through from Paris down to Rome through Switzerland and whatnot. So we did that. So I learned a lot about traveling and organizing tours for a few years. And then, along the late 1990s, when started taking my band students on performance trips, I just said, you know, these guys, this tour company, I have no sense in paying them, and I can organize it myself. So I started doing it that way.
Oh, I
Yep.
love that concept.
Yeah.
That's cool. You
Uh,
saw the need in you, you created it. So how difficult was it? How nerve-wracking was it for you to just jump in like that?
Yeah, so back in the day, there was no emails or anything, so it was all fax. And of course, I really didn't have a business. I was kind of doing it impromptu. So the school I worked at, of course, had no international fax number, so I would have to go to the local Staples or Office Depot or somewhere and send international fax to get hotel reservations and stuff like that. So it was complicated, but it all worked out. It gave me a great background and a great experience in organizing the tours that I even do today.
Well, you brought up an interesting point. The internet obviously made it easier for you to do some of the aspects of creating tours, but did it also kind of hurt you a little bit in terms of people could look on the internet and find create their own tours?
Yeah, well, that's true. Nowadays, there's tons of, let's say, competition, people who do tours just like me. So at my company, David McGuffin Exploring Europe, we organize tours. We have 29 different tour routes all over Europe. We have groups from about an average size of 12 to 15 people, but never more than 18. And it's pretty simple now because I have a team that works with me and we all partner together to make these bookings and do it. And we go back to the same places year after year and season after season. So that's easy. But in the early days, it was challenging. It sure was challenging.
Well, when you say you go back to the same places year after year, is the trip different? Like if I were to go on one of your trips to Greece this year, could I go on it next year and see a bunch of different stuff too?
Yeah, so we only have one tour route in Greece. So that would cover the main sites of Athens, Delphi, Santorini, those kind of places. But if we go, say, in Italy, we have 6 different tour routes. So you could go to Italy 6 different times and experience 6 different locales.
What is it about travel that you absolutely love? Obviously, you love it. You got the passion.
You got it. Yeah. Well, like I say, I fell in love in the early days because I really didn't have a passion for history or anything else until I first traveled. And of course, I was 20 years old, so that's a young kid. I was all just trying to get through life, let's put it that way, and get through college. But the more I traveled, the more I enjoy bringing people to those places that I've been to and teaching them about the locale, the destination, the culture. Of course, I'm a musician, so the music and dance and all of that falls into it as well. Yes.
I have to ask, as a musician, when you've gone overseas, any stops that you hit for the Beatles?
Oh yeah, we were just about this time last year, last July. We were in Liverpool. I had a high school band that I was taking, and we performed at a big festival parade that all centered around the
Wow.
music of the Beatles and all of that stuff. So yes, all the time. And of course, in London, everybody wants to go out to Abbey Road and all of that kind of stuff. So yes, of course. The Beatles play a big part in the UK for sure.
Did you take a picture on the Abbey Road, like the cover?
Oh yeah, everybody does, with your feet out forward, you're walking across the crosswalk.
Of
Yes.
course. So, of all the places you've been, have any, like, what would be one of the places or a couple of places that really surprised you for whatever reason?
Well, let's see. I recently, last December, my wife Charlotte and I, we had a few days between some of our Christmas markets tours. So we hopped in the car in Salzburg and we drove straight down into Croatia and to the Istria Peninsula. So this is not the Dalmatian coast where all the cruises and all of that goes. This is 100 miles north of there. And boy, it was like stepping back in time, like I was in Italy and in Tuscany 50 years ago. And it was just wonderful. The people were great. Right on the seaside, the Adriatic Sea, a town called Rovine is right there, and Pula, which has a totally intact Colosseum, let's say amphitheater, Roman amphitheater from the first century that rivals what we see in Rome.
Wow. Wow. So, what travel tips would you have a well-seasoned traveler? What are your travel tips for others?
Wow, it's changed. The pandemic has changed a lot, and especially a lot of things about getting money. So, nowadays nobody takes traveler's checks anywhere. No one hardly even brings your debit card and brings out cash out of the ATM machines. A lot of places, let's say 99.5% of every vendor, restaurant, grocery store in Europe uses contactless payment. So you can take your phone and tap it, or me, I take my watch and tap payment, and it goes that way. That all started back during the pandemic when no one wanted to handle any cash. So now it is the norm. So where I used to go and get $400 or $500 for a week out of the ATM machine and pay for it and use that to pay for things, now it's not even necessary to do that.
Wow, wow, that's true. Absolutely. So, out of all the things, not counting like your watch for money and money itself, what two or three things must you always bring on a trip?
Well, I always have this still relates to money, credit cards and stuff, but I have a money belt that I wear around my waist, tuck it in my pants, and then I keep my credit cards, my passport. I keep any cash that I have, anything that's very, very personal that I can't do without if it got lost. So I do that. That's the first thing. The second thing is that I try to pack light. Pack in a carry-on suitcase. I was gone for 3 months earlier in the year, and I have one carry-on
Wow.
suitcase that I carry in a small little backpack. And so I don't go around in dirty clothes all the time because I just make a point to wash either a little bit in the room, but nowadays laundromats are everywhere. And for €12, you can go in and wash everything you have, and it takes an hour. Maybe sometimes you can go in and leave it with an attendant and pick it up later. And so that's great. So small carry-on suitcase, travel light, and that money belt are two of the most important things about traveling.
And what would you say, how has travel changed you?
Wow. Uh, I tell people in my wildest dreams, I never thought I would be doing what I'm doing today, which is organizing tours and taking people on trips to Europe. But it's changed me because it's just broadened my cultural perspectives. I listen to some of the news and read the newspapers here at home, and then I go to Europe. Listen to the news and read the newspapers in Europe, and everything is contrasting. It's nothing jives. So you have to be there and understand the people, the culture, the heritage of what's going on. And the only way you can do that is get out of the United States, get out of your home, get out of your comfort zone, and experience somewhere else.
Now I'm going to reverse the question. How have you changed the travel industry?
Oh, well, a funny thing, a lot of people who travel with me, especially when we go to Italy or Spain or something, they tell me, well, I don't drink wine. And I love to educate people about wine and the good wine. And many times people say, well, I never drank wine before I met David McGuffin. I don't know if that's a good thing or not, but that's how I've changed it. And also, on a broader scale, I think we have a really good base of customers and travel partners who've been with me for 25 more, even back when I was a teacher, 25 years or more, that consistently keep coming back year after year and going on tours, going on tours. And that's helped me to kind of broaden and expanding my horizons as well. So with that said, I've also gotten out of Europe, so exploring beyond Europe. And we're doing just in about 2, 3 weeks, we're doing our very first ever tour to Tanzania, to the Serengeti, and doing a safari there. And then next year, we're going to the Galapagos, and we've just made some friends and acquaintances through our travel industry that have become very good friends who do the same thing I do, operate tours in, let's say, Africa or in Ecuador or whatnot.
Well, you just named a couple, so that was my next question was going to be, what future plans you have for other
Yeah.
destinations where you haven't visited yet?
Right. So that's those are those two continents. So I'm going to try to do something once a year like that. And that's because, like I say, I have so many wonderful tour alumni and travel partners that have been with me through the years that keep saying, "Can we go here? Can we go here?" I think my next venture is going to be go across the Isthmus and go into Western Turkey. I think
Wow.
is where I'm going next. Yes.
Wow. Wow. So I know you've been all over the world, but within the United States, what would be your favorite one or two cities?
Oh my gosh. I grew up in the South, and so I'm a Florida boy, but my family always went to the Smoky Mountains to go for a vacation in the summer, and we'd take 2 weeks and go up there and camp and hike and everything. So the area around Gatlinburg, Tennessee is a big tourist trap now, but the small little towns around there, Knoxville and Asheville, Tennessee, and then on up the Shenandoah Valley up into Virginia at Shenandoah National Park, and of course that's very close to Washington D.C. as well. So those are my some of my favorite locales in the Southeast. Yes.
Beautiful areas. What's next for you? Maybe a book coming out at some point, or
I'm working on a book. It seems like my life gets in the way and I can't sit down and write. But it's funny because I have this program that we use on our emails and stuff, and every week it sends me, give me a topic about your email, and we'll have AI write everything for it. So I experimented, just put one chapter of my book that I'm working on in there, and my gosh, how does AI know so much about me? But yes, a book's going to come out, that's for sure.
well, we're anxiously awaiting that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. With all the places you've been and the amount of knowledge you have and the experience, I think that'd be a fantastic book. It just seems like a natural for you.
Yeah, I need to get on it. I'm not getting any younger, so I better get it out, right?
So before I let you go, tell everybody where they can find information. Tell everybody about your tours.
Sure, John. Listen, it's my name is David McGuffin, and my website is davidmcguffin.com. And my company is called Exploring Europe with David McGuffin, or David McGuffin's Exploring Europe. You can find us all. Just look up David McGuffin. You can probably find it on Facebook, Instagram, all of those, X, all of those, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. You can find it there. And my website, davidmcguffin.com.
Well, before I let you go, I just want to thank you for what you do for travel. You've opened the world to a lot of different people. You've opened the world to me. I loved your website, like following your adventures and all that. I really, when you do create the book, when you do write the book, hit me back, and we'll certainly do an update on you, and get that information out to everybody.
Great, John. Thank you so much for having me on today. It's been my pleasure, and I really appreciate you thinking of me when it comes to travel.
Thank you, sir, and safe travels.
Same to you. Take care now.
You too.